It's the end of summer 2004 and I'm 7. I'm with my family and some friends at a beach in North Carolina, but I only care about one thing, Braves baseball. I remember nothing else of that trip and nothing else of this game, but I do remember this home run. It is one of my favorite home runs of all time.
Well hit to right center. Michael's on the run, turns his back to the infield and bobbled and then kicked it up into the stands for a home run. It's home run Charles Thomas. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That was a crazy one. Tie game.
Let's talk about the batter. He's a rookie. His name is Charles Thomas. He's in the middle of a 2-war season, and he'll be out of baseball in less than a year.
Charles not just getting hits, he's getting extra base hits. It's a good time with the bat. He's had a good time with the glove. Charles Thomas unloads deep to right field on a long 3-run homer by Charles Thomas has hit another home run. Charles is one of those guys that he beats out the infield. That's his stolen base for Thomas. Those people didn't know about Charles Thomas. He sort of came out of nowhere.
He's had sort of an unusual career. His first year in the rookie league at Jamestown, he hit .303. Then he went to high A ball in '01, hit .159 in Myrtle Beach. They sent him down to Macon, lower classification of A ball. He only hit .250. Then he hit .231 in Greenville. He went back to Myrtle Beach and hit only .242. So it looked like his career was stalled, but for some reason they saw something. They moved him up to Greenville, and he hit .324 the second half of the year. It's like something clicked. And then this year he's hitting .358 when he got called up.
On June 23rd, 2004, the Braves were in trouble. They were 40% of the way through their season, and they were in 4th place. This is at the tail end of their dynasty. They've won 12 straight division titles, but only John Smoltz remains of the Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz trio, and he's coming out of the bullpen. The rotation is average at best. They're going to have to win it with their offense, which is good, kinda. They've lost Gary Sheffield and Javi Lopez, but they still have the Joneses, and they acquired a J.D. Drew, who will go on to have the best season of his career. Marcus Giles and Rafael Furcal are a solid double-play combo, but the Braves are lacking an outfielder. It wasn't planned this way. The season began with a Jones-Drew trio on opening day. Jones had moved to left field a few seasons earlier to make way for Vinny Castilla. After Castilla left for Colorado at the end of the 2003 season, the plan was to move Mark DeRosa to third. DeRosa had been a decent role player over the past 3 seasons, but he was in his age 29 season and hadn't really shown that he was starter material. And boy, was he definitely not. On the day Charles Thomas was called up, DeRosa was hitting .228 with a .283 on base percentage and a .320 slugging for a whopping .603 OPS. DeRosa finished the 2004 season as the second worst position player by F4 with a negative 1.9. So in June, the Braves gave up on DeRosa and moved Chipper back to third, but now this left a gap in left field. Initially, the plan was to platoon Dwayne Wise and Eli Marrero, 2 players who had yet to do much of anything at the major league level. And they were only 2 weeks into this experiment when Wise hit the injured list. They brought up Thomas on the 23rd just to sit him on the bench. They sit him the next day too. He got pinch hits in on both days, and he got his first hit on the second day. After which, he was rewarded with his first start. He goes hitless, and then that's where the fun begins. This is a chart of WRC Plus on a 5-game rolling average. 100 is average. Any number above or below represents a percentage point above or below the average. Here's Thomas's. Oh my god. Look at that. Look at that peak. On July 17th, his 5-game rolling average is 362. That's 262% better than league average. And he wasn't hitting home runs. He was hitting things like this.
Time to run, and every year I oversleep. Into left center, Damon's not going to get there. Look at him run. He's going to stop. And a good start.
And like this.
Whole collection of pitch hitters. Anything above 250 is excellent for pitch hit average for a team. There's another pinch hit dropping in off the bat of Charles Thomas.
Thomas also got on base plenty. His walk percentage 7.9 was slightly below average, but he was getting hit. He got plunked 9 times. Like this. Thomas played in the days before sprint speed, but he was supposedly fast. Even the ESPN announcers hypothesized that he was faster than teammate Rafael Furcal.
Thomas may be faster than Furcal.
I'm gonna be doubtful that he was actually faster than Furcal. Thomas didn't actually steal that much in the majors. He only had 3 major league steals, and then he had 1 in the NLDS that year. But watch, the Giants think so. Watch the sequence. Here, the Braves are up by 1 in the 8th inning. He's just singled. Furcal's up. The Giants throw over twice before they've even thrown a pitch. So what does Thomas do? He steals on the first pitch anyway.
It's supposed to have a change-up. Runner going, the pitch is low.
It still didn't even matter. Furcal walked, and then Thomas scored on an error. But it really showed he had the potential to do a lot. By the end of July, Thomas had a 134 WRC+, with a 348 batting average, 394 on base percentage, and 543 slugging. If you want to know what kind of hitter this is like, we could look and see... well, Alex Rodriguez? Oh, he's better than Alex Rodriguez. If Thomas could hit like this throughout the entire season, he'd be better than one of the best hitters of all time. But he doesn't. What happens? Remember that WRC Plus chart from earlier? This one? Remember how I showed you his peak? It's time to look at the valley. Yeah, this one. By the 55 game mark, pitchers have figured him out. During this 5-game stretch, he doesn't draw a walk or get a hit. His WRC Plus is negative 100. It's a little misleading. He pinch ran in 2 of those appearances, and he didn't get a plate appearance. But he only records 6 hits from August 13 to August 22. At this point, it would be easy to call Thomas's first month and a half a fluke. And it was. He wasn't going to have a WRC Plus of 134 forever. He was not going to be better than A-Rod. But the thing is, this is not the stretch that doomed Thomas. During the month of August, even with this 9-day cold stretch, he had a WRC Plus of 93. 93 isn't great, but it's serviceable, especially if you play good defense and run well, which Charles Thomas definitely did. He started to strike out more, sure, but again, even with this 9-day stretch, his walk rate actually increased. And it's not like that increase was due to intentional walks. He was actually getting intentionally walked less in August than in June and July. In fact, during his torrid stretch in June and July, he didn't actually take a walk that wasn't intentional. He was basically Jeff Francoeur, except Jeff Francoeur came in 2005. So Jeff Francoeur was essentially Charles Thomas. The big difference between Charles Thomas and Jeff Francoeur, aside from the home runs, is that they were called up about a month apart from each other. So when Jeff Francoeur started hitting his cold streak in 2005, it was already close to the end of the season. Charles Thomas still had about a month and a half left. I think it's about time we talk about batting average and BABIP. BABIP stands for batting average on balls in play. Anything that is hit in play that is not a home run, basically anything that has the potential to be an out, is something that is included in BABIP. So when Charles Thomas first gets called up, he hits 368 in his first 19 at-bats. Once he started getting more regular playing time in July, his batting average dropped, but only by about 25 points. He went from hitting 368 to 342. Both of those are outstanding, but when you look at his BABIP, his batting average on balls in play, you start to get a better idea that a crash was coming. In the 2004 season, the league average for BABIP is 297. During Charles Thomas's hot streak in June and July, his BABIP are 412 and 386. That's super high, so it's expected that his BABIP was going to come back to earth. And in August it did. It dropped all the way down to 333, which is still high, 40% higher than league average, but it's not Chris Johnson 2013 high. In September and October, his BABIP gets even worse. It drops all the way down to 250, and he only hits 237 for the month. However, he manages a 90 WRC plus in these 24 games. It's 10% worse than league average, but he's still playing good defense and running well. But he begins to hit more home runs. He hits 4 home runs in this month span, the most of any month span during 2004. One of those was, of course, the Michaels home run, but 2 of them were also on the last game of the season. Let's check those out. So it's October 3, 2004. The Braves are playing the Cubs in Chicago. The Braves clinched over a week ago, and the Cubs, despite having 89 wins, have no shot at the playoffs. A massive disappointment after just missing the World Series the previous year. And who's pitching? Oh look, it's the Braves' old friend Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux left Atlanta the previous year, and it's his first year back with the Cubs. It's his first start against the Braves since 1992. Here's that lineup. Maddox isn't the same pitcher he was during his prime, but he still managed a 4.02 ERA in his first season back in Chicago, good for a 2.6 F4. Charles Thomas does this in his first at-bat against the future Hall of Famer.
Charles Thomas unloads deep to right field. It's a 2-run Cub lead on a long 3-run homer by Thomas.
His next at-bat in the 5th inning results in a strikeout. In his third at-bat against Maddox, he does this.
Runner goes, pitch hit high in the air, left center field, pretty deep. Patterson will turn and admire that. Charles Thomas has hit another home run. 2 homers and 5 runs batted in today for the Braves outfielder.
We told you he had a chance to be a pretty decent player.
2 home runs off of the future Hall of Famer Greg Maddux. It looks like Charles Thomas is starting to figure things out at the end of the year. It's time for the playoffs. Oh right, the playoffs. If you remember when Charles Thomas first got called up, the Braves were 32-38. They were 6.5 games back from the Florida Marlins. This is how the season ended. The Braves finished 96-66, the second best team in the National League. They went 64-29 after Charles Thomas was called up. No, Charles Thomas is not solely responsible for getting the Braves into the playoffs, but it is important to note that he was a key reason for how they got there. So let's talk about those playoffs now. The 2004 playoffs are famous for a few things, but none of them involved the Braves. Wasn't much of a factor. In the playoffs, the Braves lost to the Astros in 5 games. Charles Thomas had 4 hits, all singles and 2 walks, stole a base and scored 1 run. And then Charles Thomas was no longer Brave. 2 months after the playoffs ended, the Braves traded him, Juan Cruz, and Dan Meyer to the Oakland A's for Tim Hudson. Tim Hudson ended up being the cornerstone for the Braves rotation for almost a decade, accumulating 18 F4 in his 9 years with the Braves. Pieces who went to Oakland? Nothing much. Dan Meyer, who was arguably the centerpiece and the best prospect in the deal, only pitched 17 games with Oakland and had a 7.98 ERA in 44 innings. Juan Cruz was equally as bad, only managing 32.2 innings in his only season with the A's, while carrying a 7.44 ERA, but Charles Thomas might have been the worst of the bunch. He makes the team out of spring training, and here is how his season begins.
0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 1, 0 for 3, 0 for 2, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 2.
His first hit with the A's didn't come until April 27th, and he really doesn't improve from there. He doesn't hit a single home run with Oakland, he has no extra base hits, and in 55 plate appearances, he only has 5 hits and 5 walks to show for it. Good for a 109 batting average, 255 on base percentage, and of course a 109 slugging. On June 8, he grounds out to second, the Oakland A's send him down, and he never sees Major League Baseball again. His Major League career is over after less than a year. But I don't think he was actually that bad. If you look at his underlying metrics, they weren't actually all that different from what he was doing with the Braves. His ground ball rate sure was still high, but it was actually lower in 2005. His line drive rate was even higher with Oakland, and his fly ball percentage was essentially stagnant. He walked more and struck out less. But his BABIP, his BABIP. If anything, Charles Thomas was unlucky. In 2005, he BABIP'd 132, and he probably should have had another chance or two. In 2005, once he got sent down, he didn't hit great. But in 2006, he came back and he was hitting 274, 350, and 376. His last year in the minors was with the Milwaukee Brewers in 2007, and he was bad. 2006, at 27, he probably should have seen Major League Baseball at least one more time. Thomas will always be remembered for being a one-year wonder, but his impact to the Braves lasts a lot longer, thanks to Tim Hudson. And I will always have this home run.
Back to the infield and bobbled and then kicked it up into the stands for a home run.
Also, did you know that almost 9 years later, Tim Hudson, the person Charles Thomas was acquired for, a person who pitched and didn't hit a very similar home run to the one that Charles Thomas did in 2004?
High fly ball lofted toward right field. Pretty well hit. Harper going back at the wall. It's off his glove and gone.
Isn't that fun?